I'll kind of expand a little bit. The construct that the Freedom Nation has developed is a set of environments that we call the Freedom Villages. Freedom Villages are meant to be physical living environments where people who want self-determination can live close to each other, coordinate with each other, and work with one another in order to build the space that they feel they need to live an excellent life and take advantage of the opportunities that are rising in the world. Freedom Village is not just stuck. We have one inside of Hancock County, Georgia, and we have another Freedom Village that we are establishing now on the border of Kazakhstan and China. And I'm going to use this opportunity to do a screen share. And I'm going to share my browser. Let's make sure that goes through, because it's good to kind of show some of this on the map. Let me pull this up really quick. Bear with me just for 1 second. So, just so you'll know, as far as the different places we're talking about, Freedom Village, Georgia is here where this little star is. Right there. You can just put Freedom Village, Georgia inside your Google and it'll pull up. And then we are now talking about the things that affect this side of the world. And Freedom Village Cargos is right here. This is the Chinese and Kazakh border. And there's Cargos. And we are in the, what they call the Center for Border Collaboration here, right here on in the current cargo. So let me show what that is. And this is the other space we are. I'm now contacting you, like I said, from Nur Sultan, Kazakhstan, which is the heart of what is known as the New Silk Road in Kazakhstan. It's here. I'm here in Nur Sultan, and I'm actually contacting you right from this space right here, down inside. You can see it. I'm actually sitting right here, right now, right inside this building here. I'm right here. And this is where I'm contacting you from. So given that we've kind of given a basic understanding of what Freedom Village is and a basic understanding of why we're doing this and a basic understanding of why we're here, and we promised to do like a little 15-minute presentation just in case you just joined to explain exactly what it is that we are doing and why we're doing it. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. Then I want to kind of get into the actual topic. I want to give you a little bit of a background. I was I have been going back and forth to China now I'm 43. I've been going back and forth to China since I was 22. And the first thing that led me to China was just the idea. I had a software company I started when I was 20. And the idea that I could buy hardware and other things that I could resell in the United States, like most people look at China. And I went over for that reason. Taiwan, China, Malaysia, I was in all of those different areas. When I was living in China, I lived in a place called Guangzhou. Guangzhou is on the southern border. Once again, I'm going to share my screen again because I like the narrative to kind of play out a little bit so you just understand where these places are, because I know some people don't understand where all of them are. But Guangzhou, they have what's called the Canton Fair. And every single year when they have this Canton Fair, let me show you what it is. This is where all of the vendors and manufacturers inside China come to one big place and they occupy this space. Here it is. This is the World Trade Center, Guangzhou. They occupy this space and you can pretty much buy anything that is Chinese at this place. You hear brothers that are starting some new project or doing some a product. So many brothers, so many people that we have in our black-owned businesses have taken this trip, going to the Canton Fair and purchased their products. They go here, and this is how it's done. They have it twice a year. It's the best way to interact with China, is to go to Canton Fair. They're like 120th Canton Fair, something like that. Well, as you can see by the size of the building, it's pretty large. It's about the size of 2 to 3 football fields. And I was on one side and decided to walk to the other because I didn't feel like waiting in line to get the trolley. So by the time I walked all the way to the other side, I was exhausted. I mean, absolutely exhausted. And then I was there at Canton Fair looking for knobs, doorknobs, PVC piping, all this little extra stuff that we don't manufacture in order to put in the houses in Freedom Village, Georgia. That was what I was there for. When I got to the end, I was sitting down, I was tired. I sat in a big old chair, leaned back, and I was watching, kind of set up. They put these little massage chairs in front of this big old screen. And the big old screen, they were talking about the new Silk Road. Now, at the time, this $20 trillion project was only $100 billion in. And I remember seeing it, and what they were talking about was this. I want to also show that here, because if you haven't heard of this, you probably hear about it more and more and more these days because of some of the negative publicity the United States is trying to put around it. And there's a reason for that, by the way. So this is the new Silk Road. It's a set of interconnected roads that connect all of what's called Eurasia. That's Europe and Asia, and maritime roads that then connect the Africa as well. If you think that these things just hit the edge of Africa, I'd also like to share another part of Silk Road. So African Development Bank corridors. I want you to be able to search this stuff when we get finished. And if you look at the African Development Bank, African Development Bank, because I know a lot of times when we talk about Asia, the first question is, what about Africa? But what you can see is that the new Silk Road corridors actually connect to the African corridors. And it is a set of unified roads. There we go. So it's a set of unified roads. Everywhere the new Silk Road touches Africa, it's on the inlet to a road that connects all the way through Africa. And they are steady building these brand new roads on a consistent basis. So this was about connecting the part of the world where almost 85% of the population of Earth exists. And I immediately understood the impact of that and what that meant. It meant that in the United States, where at that moment, until to this day, only 5% of the world's transactions transpire. 5%, just in case you didn't know that, only 5% of the business transactions in the world transpire in the U.S. Now that means even the things that you buy on the ground, the deals that made those things available did not happen on American soil. So 95% of the transactions, 50% of American currency is being spent in this space where they were talking about building this completely interconnected highway and waterways. And I just knew for a fact that there was no definitive future for me and my children if we weren't able to play a role in this. Historically, I'll tell you the significance of it. Historically, the Silk Road was a thing that allowed for like Islam to even sell. The entire Islamic world is built on the Silk Road. B, it allowed the transactions between Africa, China, and several other nations in Europe. As a matter of fact, it was the initial path that Marco Polo and other people used to discover the world that then set them up to do the things that they did during colonialism. And shutting down the Silk Road was the primary initiative of Europe in order to establish its power in the world. It was how it was able to get by with colonialism because it shut down the major ways for people to transport goods. So reopening the Silk Road as the world is coming into itself, into full maturity and modernality, is the bringing back and reestablishment of the powers of Africa and Asia on the world as they were prior to the European events, or European era, right? So that's something that we have to be passionate about. You know, we as African Americans sometimes make the mistake of believing that we are unique in our issues and in our suffering, and we're just not. There have been It was a global event that put us into slavery. It was a global event that caused the degradation of Africa. It was a global event. And resolution of that global event is how we also climb back on top. But unfortunately, just like this conversation might have told you, a lot of people don't even know what the Silk Road is, what it was, the power, the significance of it, what it means to us. So I'm here as part of this to give you this conversation, not just what it is, but the crux of this conversation is how to own a piece of it, how to get in it, how to play. So now that I started to answer the question, Kazakhstan. Why Kazakhstan? Most of us have never heard of Kazakhstan. As I was traveling around the world, I've been to 80 so plus countries. I looked over and I've always said to myself, I want to go to the stands. I want to go to Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan. And it was always a dream in the back of my head, but I never had a reason to go there. Except for when I came home from that event, the Canton Fair, sat down in front of my computer, typed in New Silk Road, a documentary came up, and the first words out of the mouth of the documentary were Astana, Kazakhstan, which is where I'm sitting right now. And this was the place where President Xi Jinping came to first announce the New Silk Road. So I want you to understand where we're sitting. We're sitting at the place that one of the significant world leaders of the world, when starting the project of the century, $20 trillion project, decided to come and sit right over here. You'll see behind me there's some construction here, but down here is Nazarbayev University. I'm looking at it outside my window right here. He stood right there and announced this entire project because he knew the significance of being right here. He understood that this was one of the most significant spaces in the world for what China wanted to do with the future, for what every other country wanted to do to reestablish itself and reestablish its connections outside of the European system. So we came here and then immediately started to understand that Kazakhstan, and I hope I'm still sharing my screen, Kazakhstan actually sits at the mouth of China's western border. And if you look, you've got Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Afghanistan, Pakistan, and India, Bangladesh over here on the western border. But Kazakhstan is the only place where you can travel all the way through, cross through Moscow, and then into Europe. You can also travel down and go into the Caspian or the Black Sea. You can pass through the Golden Key right here in Istanbul and gain access to the Mediterranean, which gives you access to all of North Africa. Meaning that you can go from Kazakhstan in this little old trip here, the distance between Alabama and California, and you can get into Africa. That's an amazing concept. Also, Kazakhstan is not just in Central Asia because it's called Central Asia. It literally is the center of Eurasia and the center of all that is Asia, Russia, and Africa. And we're right in the center. So it makes sense logistically to be here in this space. Now, I'm coming to the end of the presentation part, but in that I want to hip you to something else. And this will explain the significance of what's happening in Kazakhstan. Right here on the border, down here in Hong Kong, I've been traveling back and forth to this area for quite some time now. There is a little city called Shenzhen. Now, if you know what Shenzhen is, Hong Kong originally was separated as a set of islands. It's actually just this little island down here. This side is called Kowloon, right? This was separated for the British to kick their butts out of China because they were using opium as a currency and hooking the country on opium, destroying them with a drug war. And they're basically drug warlords. The emperor decided to finally get rid of them. And when he did, the island of Hong Kong was the exception. Well, Hong Kong grew into its own power because of the reestablishment of the new trade lines and the destruction of the Silk Road. And China wanted to take advantage of being on the edge of Hong Kong. And what they did is they built this city called Shenzhen. Now, Shenzhen started out as a fishing village 22 years ago. Shenzhen had 65,000 people in the whole village. And if I could show you, just so you understand what I'm talking about, and it's so significant to this conversation. Shenzhen, let's put in 1980. How about that? Maybe that's a good time, right? So there's Shenzhen in 1980. That's what it looked like, just a little old Chinese fishing village, right? And here's a great before and after. That's Shenzhen today. Shenzhen is the hardware capital of the planet. Literally, the Chinese went in and completely redid this city because it was on the border. And being a border town, they allowed certain rules to take place that allowed you to transact with Hong Kong in a way that you couldn't transact anywhere else in China. They also put a visa that you could get very easily to cross Hong Kong and be in Shenzhen for 3 days, 4 days, and leave out, allowing people to do business without going through, getting a longer Chinese visa. So this little unique space is up to 18 million people right now and is the largest economy in all of China, rivaling Shanghai and Beijing. And there's only one other place where there's such a development going on, and it's in Cargos. Cargos, right now, spelled Cargos, I'm going to say Hargos because the Chinese side is called Hargos, right, is here on the border. And this is the mouth of the New Silk Road. You see, New Silk Road helps wealth boom in the desert, right? So basically, this was like the first 2 years of development. Since then, China has swollen Hargos to a city of 4 million. And by the 2025, they're trying to swell the city to almost 10 million. To give you an idea what that means, it's on the border of Kazakhstan. What you see along the side here is Kazakhstan, and this is China. Kazakhstan has only got 18 million people in the whole country. China is putting that many people against the border. And the focus is robotics. The focus is advanced manufacturing. The focus is computing. The focus is all of the other things and having access to the rest of China's other markets. So they also extended a massive railroad system that brings everything into Hargos within 2 to 3 days. So you can order from anywhere in China, receive it in Hargos in 2 to 3 days. And then here's the kicker. They put together Cargos. Now, by the way, there's the border right there. We took some brothers down to this border. We stood on the blue is the Kazakh, the red is the Chinese. But they basically have allowed this. I'm going to type it in here, Cargos. Let's just take a look at the regular here. The biggest dry port in the world. So Cargos, they made a slice down the middle, created a city where half is China and half is Kazakhstan. And anything can go across this border with no limitations, no visas, no taxes, no tariffs. And when it comes across the border, if you do anything with that product, it now is from that place and not the other place. And if you don't understand what I'm saying, see, a lot of folks under Trump, a lot of black businesses were damaged by buying stuff like toilet paper, buying cabinets, buying all kinds of stuff from China, buying just base products that they put inside other products and then sell to everybody. Because the tariffs went up and the taxes went up. In this place, you can stand on the Kazakh side, receive that stuff, package it, and then send it out as a product of Kazakhstan. And you don't find any of the tariffs, any of the duties, or any of the taxation that is going on between China and the United States. Very unique space in the world, growing at a massive rate, set to be one of the most key cities on the planet Earth. And here's the best part. Freedom Village Cargos owns almost 10% of that city. That's what this is about. So we are on the mouth of the Silk Road. And on the mouth of the Silk Road, we've established Freedom Village Cargos. Now I'm going to get up for a second somewhere while we're starting to answer questions because I can hear, and I'm going to grab, because I want to share the actual contracts that we signed with the government of Kazakhstan to take over that space. And we literally are building 140 units out there, 144 buildings. Each building has 9 units, and each unit we're selling exclusively to Freedom Nation citizens that pass through our other citizens' approval. And it's my nice way of saying that we're selling to us. And we are selling at the lowest possible rate. And what we've done, let me just share it with you. Let's do some freedom. First of all, let's take a look at Cargos on the map. I want to share that with you, just like you see Shenzhen. I want you to keep that in mind. Let's go down from Chongqing. And by the way, I do want to open the floor. I want to answer some of the questions. Don't anybody hold back. I want to talk about West China. I want to talk about China's relationship with Africa. I want to talk about, is this even a conversation about China? You know, I want to talk about all of that in this conversation. I'm right here on the ground. I'm here to hand you some truths and to disseminate some of this information you might hear or confirm some of the information that you might have heard otherwise. This is Cargos. On the right-hand side, you have Chinese building their city. This satellite image is about 3-4 years old. This one is pretty truthful. Cargos on the Kazakh side has yet to grow. And what's happening now is some of the Chinese investors are taking over on this side, and they'll start building up this side as well. That wasn't the intention. The intention was to have this be international space. But as current, Freedom Village is the only international project. We took this plot of land here, right? And we're establishing ourselves on this border in this free trade area, in this center of joint collaboration and border collaboration and free trade. Okay. Downstream from us here is the largest dry port in the world. Why is that so significant? Because the Chinese railroad, their cars cannot go on the rails of Europe and the rest of the world outside of China. They have to change the tracks. The cars actually have to come in here, and then they have to take it from one size track to another size track, and then move it down the line. I was hoping I could find the actual big yellow things that do that. And they move it on down the line. That's why that's so significant, so significant. 78% of all the traffic for Europe, Africa, that comes from this side of the Eastern Asia and into Eastern Asia by road will come through this one single corridor. So the last part I want to tell you is that in setting up this, and I want to give you this website, Freedom Nation, freedomnation.me/builders. You can also just type in Freedom Nation Builders. It'll come up as well. Okay. And we've changed some of the homepage stuff so that it reflects that. Gave you a couple of videos so you can understand what it means to be on the Silk Road. But we're actually building there. And we are setting up executive residence, offices, as well as showrooms inside of these buildings that we have designed with our own building materials. If you haven't noticed, in the middle of the desert, so we were particularly able to get the contract because we had take the time. You know, so many people criticize me for taking the energy out to learn how to make brick and mill lumber and everything else. But it's our ability to make brick and mill lumber that gave us these contracts, because there's no way to get other building materials in an easy way. So we're producing the building materials in that area. Here's the layout that's there. You can go to the website. You can see some of the things that are available. This is the building design. I chose a really simple design. We designed this in-house. It allows us to build really quick with our brick, with our wood, and in our way. Majority of the products, almost 85% of what goes in these buildings is made by us. So then we took, and we are doing this. This is the last part. We are offering these buildings. If you look online, you'll see pricing. You'll see monthly pricing, so forth and so on, different things like that. Well, for the Freedom Nation citizens, we are offering financing, 0 interest, because we're Muslim and we don't believe in interest, and we don't believe it's a fair system that should be charged to our people. And then also 0 interest. And for anyone who's a Freedom Nation citizen, we won't even check your credit. We will go off the strength of your word in order to sell. That's the exact same way we have recently sold 70 different lots down in Freedom Village, Georgia. We went off people's word. We didn't run any credit check. We understood that everybody had good intentions. If someone has a problem, we take the time to work with you, not take advantage of you. Every dime that we earn is to build another project to give us more strength and to extend this work that we're doing. And so it's no reason to fight somebody for that. Instead, our intention is to make sure that you own a piece of it, not that you don't own a piece of it. So even if you have issues, problems, we work with you. So this is that kind of financing. What we've done is we've taken any money that we've collectively made, And we didn't make it through no special stuff, right? I'm a software engineer, been that for 20 some odd years. I trained my brother, I trained other brothers, other young brothers. I've trained 45 different brothers and sisters how to be software engineers. We took that money, we reinvested it inside lands, and lands here in Kazakhstan, lands in the United States. And then we found a way to sell it as cheap as possible in the most inexpensive way to our own people so that they could own that property and be in their control. We reduced the cost here for citizens down to the almost just a little over the actual cost to build the buildings. And the reason why we're doing that is because if a brother decides or sister decides to sell their property, we want them to be able to do so at the going rate, which here, raw property, raw building on that border is $65 a square foot. If they decide to keep it, they can keep it at the most inexpensive rate, and they can set up their manufacturing plant, they can set up their residence, they can do wheeling and dealing, they can ship all around Asia, they can ship into Africa, they can use it as a base for negotiating their deals with China and with any other Asian powers or European powers and push it back into Africa otherwise, right? We did that because this is our intention and our goal is to help our people. It's not to make a bunch of money. This is not it. If it was, I'd quit and I'd go home. I just go ahead and work in my profession. I make plenty of money to retire, me and my wife. 5 of my children are already married. I don't really have a whole lot that I need to do for myself. So this is about helping our people out. So this is what I wanted to talk to you about. There's a whole lot more to be said, but I think maybe it can be answered through questions. I'm going to start closing my mouth now, and then I'm going to start answering some questions. I'm going to look over here in the chat and ask for when you get the chance, please answer if there are future plans for freedom entering Morocco for opportunity. I will, Brother Theodore. The answer is yes, but I'll address it a little bit towards the end, the entire layout of what Freedom Village is intending. Actually, we're currently working to negotiate the same as we have here in Cargos in northern Ghana, in Morocco, near Tangier Med. So we have access to the Strait of Gibraltar, and in Djibouti, gain access to the Strait, what they call, not the Strait of Malacca, but the Babel Mandab, which is this little bit of waterway that comes in between Africa and the Middle East that lets you go up through the Suez Canal and back out. But we are currently negotiating all of that right now.